and to carry on that conversation and to continue discussing this kind of impact that we can have as digital health leaders in the global health ecosystem is Howard Rosen, a HITLAB fellow and working with NOVA. And he's going to moderate a panel today on how AI is being developed in oncology, a critical area, again, that affects all 8 billion people on this planet today, and how it's being done in not only a safe way, but also in an efficacious way. So it can be something that can be useful, not just for the wealthiest 1 billion, but for the lowest income 1 billion. Howard, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your time in moderating this special panel.
Well, thanks, Dan. Thanks for the introduction to what you described. Actually, it's a very exciting panel of the use of AI in oncology and some examples of how it's being used in rural populations. So very quickly, in terms of my background, as Stan said, I'm with NOVA, doing consulting and advising, predominantly in the area of sort of what I call humanizing digital transformation. I've been in health IT for a little over 15 years now, where I stumbled, and you hear in a moment why, into the having developed and invented a communication platform for providers and patients that has evolved into the business LifeWire, and that having worked with the VA, Department of Defense, Health and Human Services, and private organizations of private sector, evolved into this concept of really how do you humanize digital transformation to help the implementation and improve the success. But I also know you really don't want to hear too much about me, but hear from the panelists. So I'm really excited to introduce Peter, Jaroslaw, and Theo to the session. And because our time is limited, let's jump right into it. And Jaroslaw from the Cancer Center, please give us a brief introduction, and let's jump into how you're using AI in the cancer diagnosis process.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jaroslaw Kwiecien, and I am the CTO in Cancer Center AI. It's a company focused on improving digital pathology diagnostics process by implying digitalization and also with AI algorithms.
I am Piotr Krajewski. I am co-panelist with Jaroslaw, and we start this project because of I'm CEO of this company, and we are co-founders, and our main motivation of this was my family members' cancer case, and we know how AI works, and we want to speed up this process because we saw how the process is currently is too long, and we want to focus on this. And in the first part of this hour, Jaroslaw said maybe more about AI in oncology, how the trends is, and the second part I said maybe more I will say about how we implement it in hospitals, and there is a part of to talk about and small discussion about this. Okay, thanks, and let's continue.
Okay, so first of all, let us notice that artificial intelligence has seen enormous growth during the last decade. Now it is used to drive cars automatically, to translate human text with impressive quality, and to generate art and many other applications. And recently, there have been some attempts to apply artificial intelligence in digital pathology diagnostics. But I would say that we are still at the very beginning of this process. And maybe let's describe why it is so difficult to employ artificial intelligence in digital pathology. So I prepared a slide for this with a pictorial explanation. So usually an AI problem looks like this. We have a photo presenting some object, and we need to decide something about this object. For example, whether this object is a goat or not, like in this problem. But if we would like to compare digital pathology diagnostics to this goat detection, then we could say it looks more like this. So like it's much more complicated. We have enormous images which are too big for classical neural networks because of some technical restrictions. And this problem usually is dealt with so that we split the whole slide image into hundreds or even thousands of smaller patches, images, which is very problematic because then we need to label every fragment of the image, and it requires a lot of money, a lot of time for pathologists. And also the problem is that in this case, the algorithm doesn't see the context of the image if it can only do the classification on a small patch of this. And there are also other problems. So even if we invest time and money for taking the data from one medical institute, it may happen that the algorithm will not work on data from another institute because, for example, it uses another scanner, or it has a little bit different staining process, which results in a completely, maybe not completely, but it results with a different kind of data, which doesn't work well with the algorithm. And that's why we need to collect data from many different institutions. And I would like to tell quickly about a few new technical novelties, which may overcome the problems. And so first, let me say about whole slide CNN. CNN means the convolutional neural networks, which are kind of neural networks that are commonly used with images. And whole slide means that this neural network can be applied to the whole histopathology scan. And the second one is non-rigid image registration, which is an algorithm which maps very precisely scans with which are made from the same specimens under different stains. For example, one can be hematoxylin and eosin, and another one can be immunohistochemistry. Yes, so first of all, we have whole slide CNN. To my knowledge, the first paper about this has been published in 2020, and it has a solution which uses some very clever techniques to bypass the limitations of classical neural networks. And it allows us to train a model using a scan with only one annotation per the entire slide, which means that we don't need to make the pathologist do any additional annotation, because the classification of the whole slide is what he is doing in his daily work. What is
just to summarize, I just want to get through everyone. You can come back to that. I just want to get sort of everyone's perspective, because the time is tight. But
okay,
it's great piece of it. So really, for Theo, obviously a bit of your background, but let's get that bigger context, and then Peter can give us an example of what they're actually doing in the rural area. But Theo, your perspective overall for the use of AI in oncology would be very helpful.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I think it's bimodal. The first one being, diagnostic. Clearly, there's a need for pathologists to make an accurate diagnosis at all times, and that can be challenging. Obviously, they're only human, and so this as a surrogate to a human pathological read is absolutely necessary. In regards to diagnosing cancers that are, very acute, very highly proliferative, versus ones that are more indolent and can sort of wait a while before treatment. The major example being small cell lung cancer versus standard adenocarcinoma. The second one is risk stratification. Absolutely. There's factors on the pathological specimen and under the slide that helps the pathologist risk stratify a patient, and that can sometimes guide treatment and can help us point the patient towards the right direction in that regard too. And the third one is biomarkers, which is the holy grail in multiple pathologies, especially when you think about first-line lung cancer. what will this AI pick up that we're missing? Perhaps some patients will have certain biomarkers that others don't have, and that'll be great to know. And the second thing I'll just mention in this bimodal approach is an operational perspective in regards to health inequality. Patients that are in a rural setting don't have access to quick pathological reads and to treatment and things like that. So we think about the time when this technology will be robust enough and trustworthy enough to perhaps send a digital slide over to a pathologist that's hundreds of miles away, which will allow them to make a diagnosis that way. So it certainly opens up a lot of doors for patients that otherwise wouldn't have access to sort of rapid medical care.
Thanks so much, Theo. And again, I know our time is tight. So Peter, you've got a full, I'd say 30 seconds to sort of give us a quick example of what you're doing in rural populations and give an example just so we see how this is actually being used.
Okay, thanks. So I just want to show two examples because one point of this problem in pathology, there is so many pathologists who work only with microscope. So the first goal is to digital data. So we apply PathoCam software, which digital data from microscope. So you can see, for example, now it's a view from microscope, and when the microscope is moving, you can see on the left top corner how we merge the images from microscope through camera without scanners. So if somebody work only with microscope, it's possible to digital this data. And then second, if we have a digital data, we can upload this automatically or from PathoCam or manually to second Patho platform, web platform, where you can see right now, where you can see these images, annotate, analyze, and use AI to analyze this and share it to another people or to second opinion. So this is what we implement, and we focus right now to develop other new software, other new AI to speed up this process, because we see there is not so many pathologists, but so many cases, and we want to save lives and speed up cancer diagnosis process.
That's very cool. I know, Theo, this is the first time you've seen that. How does that add to your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it only enriches the potential I see for this technology, which is right now probably a surrogate to a pathological read, but ultimately becoming a very reliable and rapid and absolutely trustworthy way to make a diagnosis, risk stratify a patient, and possibly give us a hint towards biomarkers.
That's very cool. Any sort of, as we got any final thoughts? I might as well go with Theo. Get to your thoughts on it because we're trying to wrap up. I know a lot of stuff got thrown at us.
Yeah.
But your quick thoughts, and sort of Peter and Jaroslav, just your thoughts for us to think about. But we'll go with Theo first.
Yeah, I would just like to say congratulations to the team. I think this is the way of the future, and it's a great place to start. The absolutely key thing that needs to happen next is when you think about how you train the algorithm, we need to figure out how to put information into the AI technology and how to confirm that it's reading true positives versus false negatives, and that will certainly require a human component. And so this is a great start.
That's great, thanks. Jaroslav, any final thoughts just from the CTO side?
Okay, so I would say that AI, maybe it's not meant to replace the pathologist, but it can be a virtual assistant for him, just to say some proposals, to give some suggestions about the diagnosis, but it needs to be explainable so that the pathologist can verify what the AI says, and finally he is the responsible person for the diagnosis. That's great insight, a very important insight on that. And Peter, the last word is with you.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, if somebody from these people in here want to start AI in cancer diagnosis process and thinking about this, yeah, we are very helpful to start with without cost, just to start, and it's very grateful to being here, and thanks for this time.
Piotr, Jaroslav, and Theo, thank you so very much. And Stan, over to you.
No, it's great. And I really appreciate all of your time. We know how busy you all are. And Howard, again, terrific moderation. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And fantastic. So we have a lot to cover today. We have a lot coming up as well. But I think one of the things that we're looking forward to, and everyone who's on the audience, again, looking through the chat room and all the attendees from around the world, we have a lot of folks who are in the New York metropolitan area and a lot of folks who would like to fly into the New York metropolitan area. And so the idea is that we're having the first Digital Health Day at Columbia University, the first HITLAB Summit now back live in person on site for the first time since 2019 on November 29th. And we'd like to offer all of you who are here today an extraordinary discount to attend. Again, it's a one-day, really kind of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then there's cocktail parties and after parties, after parties that will take place. This is, again, November 29th, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving in the US. And it's the last Tuesday of November. November 29th will be an on-site, in-person Digital Health Day. This will be also the week of the HITLAB Summit, which is our semi-annual meeting that goes through what is happening in digital health. Where is the digital health evidence? Where are we seeing real proof that technologies are being adopted and being used on scale? Where you, the startup, want to take a look and see if there's an opportunity, where you, the investor, want to take a look and see where the investment might be, and where you, the buyer, the enterprise, who are working with patients on a regular basis, want to take a look at where to buy the next technology set to implement in your ecosystem. And so, again, there'll be talks, there'll be keynotes, interviews, a ton of different breakout groups and meeting groups to discuss a lot of major topics, including digital health and human rights. We're going to be talking a lot about the pandemic, the post-pandemic, and COVID, and how people are doing here. But again, this will be the Innovators Summit in November 29th on campus, live. And then again, it's free as always to attend remotely. It'll be virtual. The live sessions on site will be broadcast and will be televised live, and you can stream it anywhere in the world. And they will continue on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Again, 3 days straight of digital health evidence presentations and what is happening in the ecosystem and where digital technologies are being used the most. Hoping you can join us.